So actually this one is related with value maximization, right? This one is explained like this. So blah, blah, blah. Okay? So remaining part of this one, I'd like to explain a little later. Okay? After explanation of Ricardian model. So, okay, now we got this slide. Use star or asterisk to indicate foreign country variable. I already explained star means foreign countries. When one country can produce a unit of good with less labor than another country, we say that the first country has absolute advantage in producing that good. I already explained absolute advantage, right? So high marginal product of labor and high MPL or low AL something, unit labor requirements means absolute advantage. AL1 is 1, AL1 star is 2. So this one is greater than this. AL1 star, foreign countries, AL1 star is 2 in my numerical example, isn't it? We already calculated. That means marginal product of labor in sector 1 in home higher than marginal product of labor in sector 1 in foreign. MPL1 higher than MPL2 because AL1, ALI, and MPLI has a reciprocal relations with each other, right? Home labor is more efficient than foreign in producing Q1. Does that guarantee home should export cheese? No, right? I said absolute advantage doesn't explain trade between countries. Important thing is comparative advantage. Okay? I already explained. Comparative advantage, not absolute advantage, determines patterns of trade. Suppose that the home country has a comparative advantage of Q1 production. What is this? That is MRT, AL1 over AL2 in home, right? So suppose that home country has a comparative advantage in Q1 production. Its opportunity of producing Q1 is lower than in the foreign countries. That means AL1 over AL2 is smaller than AL1 star over AL2 star. Okay? Then home country has comparative advantage in Q1. When the home country increases Q1 production, it reduces wine production less than foreign country would. So blah, blah, blah. I already explained the comparative advantage. Right? Foreign production possibility frontier. Now, this one. That is from here. This means all the labor supply of, employed in Q2 sector. So L1 is equal to 0, L2 is L star bar. So Q1 is equal to 0. Then maximum production of Q2 is L star bar over AL2 star. Maximum production of Q1 is L star bar over L1 star. Right? Because foreign relative unit labor requirement, blah, blah, blah. I already explained. Next slide. Before any trade occurs, the relative price of Q1 to Q2 reflects the opportunity cost of Q1 in terms of Q2 in each country. In the absence of any trade, in other words, in the autarky situation, the relative price of cheese to wine, P1/P2, will be higher in foreign than in home. If foreign has a high opportunity cost of Q1 production, right? So now think about in autarky situation, production possibility frontier in home, in foreign, right? Low MRT, higher MRT in foreign, right? To see how all countries can benefit from trade, needs to find relative price when trade exists. Also, I'd like to explain relative supply in both countries, RS or relative demand RD. After explaining numerical example. Anyway, this one is also P1/P2, AL1/AL2, AL1 star over AL2, blah, blah, blah. I already explained basically all of this kind of thing. Right? Basic idea is, okay, I'd like to skip now. So gains from trade. Gains from trade come from specialized in the type of production which uses resources, labors, most efficiently and using the income generated from the production to purchase the goods and services that countries desire. Using resources more efficiently means producing a good in which a country has comparative advantage. Domestic workers earn higher income from cheese Q1 production because the relative price of Q1 increased with trade. I already explained. After trade, price of comparative advantage good. In other words, P1 increase in home, P2 decrease in home. Right? So P1 over P2 increase like this. Slope of budget constraint, slope of isovalent line, increase in home. And the opposite thing happened in foreign. Right? Relative price. Foreign country has comparative advantage in Q2, we know that. Right? So P1 decrease, P2 increase. So P1 over P2 should decrease in foreign. Then, what happened? So as I said before, production possibility frontier, budget constraint, new budget constraint, right? Then budget constraint shift, that is autarky budget constraint, that is after trade budget constraint, because P1 increase, P2 decrease. Then utility maximization solution, now after trade is this one, right? That is autarky utility level UA, after trade utility level UT. So utility increase, that is gains from trade in home, right? What happened in foreign? That is budget constraint before trade. After trade, budget constraint like this. So in autarky situation, production should be occurred at this point. After trade, what happened? Production occurred like this, right? Production occurred like this, moving this one to this one. So utility level increase in home and foreign simultaneously. That is gains from trade, UT minus UA. That is gains from trade. But our textbook in chapter 3 don't fully explain these gains from trade because utility maximization problem is not explained fully until at this stage. Right? Consumption possibilities. What is consumption possibilities? That is budget constraint. Expands after trade from here to here. Before trade, consumers choose consumption bundle with given income. Its maximum is this one, now this one. So consumption possibilities increase to the right and touch, reaching a higher level of utility after trade. Okay? Same thing happened. Budget consumption possibility is this one, budget constraint, but after trade, shift, rotate to the right in foreign too. So consumption possibilities expand to the right and touching higher utility level than before. Right? That is solution of utility maximization after change in relative price after trade. So that is home case. That is foreign case. Right? Budget constraint, change it like this. International trade allows home and foreign to consume anywhere within the colored line, which lie outside the country's production possibilities. So that is production from the perspective of country, the value maximization perspective. That is PPF, production possibility frontier, right? Production possibilities is this one. Before trade, after trade, same. PPF, same. But consumption opportunities expands to the right. Consume more than autarky situation. Foreign countries, same. That is PPF. Production possibilities that in autarky situation, consumers, production should be 1 point here, right? And consumption should be 1 point here. But now, rotates to the right. So consumption possibility expands, rotate to the right. So consume more than before. Right? Production capability in home and foreign same because no change in production possibility frontier. But budget constraint or consumption possibilities expands to the right. in home and foreign simultaneously, and two countries can touch higher utility level than autarky level. Okay? So you have to complement this graph fully, then you can get these two graphs, right? So now numerical example. Okay, before numerical example, I would like to explain. So you have to do, so our figure 3.4 explains gains from trade and consumption and production with some lots of restriction, because our textbook yet to explain utility maximization and value maximization. But we already studied value maximization, Q1 and Q2 decided by value maximization, C1 and C2 decided by utility maximization before and after trade. Then full version of this one is this one, these two graphs. So you have to do some finish these two graphs like that. Then your understanding level is enough until now. But you cannot complement some value maximization, utility maximization problem from these two graphs. You back to earlier lecture, so study for yourself. Further, especially in microeconomic foundation. Okay? Now, next topic is numerical example of so Ricardian model in home and foreign. So mathematical calculation of everything, right? To explore the basic ideas fully. Okay? That happened in 1 minute later. Okay, numerical example, section 6. So here, AL1 is 1, AL2 is 2, AL1 star is 6, AL1 star is 3. Right? What is home country's opportunity cost of producing cheese? Half, like this, right? So basic idea is AL1 is 1, AL2 is 2, AL1 star is 6, AL2 star is 3, right? Then we can construct production function of home and foreign simultaneously. As I said before there, then Q1 is 1 over AL1, L1. Then Q1 is equal to 1 over 1 L1. Q1 is L1, right? So from here, MP L1 is 1. Q2 is 1 over AL2, L2. That is, AL2 is half, 2. So 1, 2, L2. So MP L2 is half. Foreign country, from here we can construct the production function of foreign country. Q1 star is equal to 1 over AL1 star. That is a 6 L1 star. So MP L1 star is a 6. Similarly, Q2 production function in foreign is 1 over AL2 star is a third L2 star. So MP L2 star is a third. Okay? Then think about which country has absolute advantage in Q1. Then we compare MPL1 and MPL1 star, or AL1 and AL1 star, right? So MPL1 greater than MPL1 star from here, right? Or this one means MPL1 is 1 over AL1, right? So MPL1 greater than MPL1 star. In other words, AL1 smaller than AL1 star. Same representation, isn't it? So home country has absolute advantage in Q1. Okay? Also compare MPL2 and MPL2 star. half greater than a third. Or AL2, 2 smaller than AL2 star 3. Okay? Anyway, this implies that marginal labor productivity greater in Q2 in home than foreign. So home country has absolute advantage in Q2. In this example, home country has absolute advantage in Q1 and Q2. Whereas foreign country has absolute disadvantage in Q1 and Q2 simultaneously. Right? Now, calculate MRT. Right? When this is set up, we calculate the MRT in home. MRT in home is AL1 over AL2, isn't it? Right? That is equal to half. MRT foreign is equal to MRT star is equal to AL1 star over AL2 star. That is 6 over 3 in our numerical example, so 2. Right? This MRT is equal to opportunity cost of Q1 in terms of Q2 in home. And this is what MRT star is opportunity cost of Q1 star in terms of Q2 star in foreign. And we know MRT in home lower than opportunity cost of Q1 in foreign. Right? That means home country has comparative advantage in Q1 production. Foreign country has comparative disadvantage in Q1 production. Okay? Now think about opportunity cost of Q2 in terms of Q1. Right? That was reciprocal value of opportunity cost of Q1 in terms of Q2. So that was 2. Foreign countries opportunity cost of Q2 star is the reciprocal value of opportunity cost of Q1 in terms of Q2 in foreign. So that is half. That means this kind of thing. Foreign country has low opportunity cost of Q2 in terms of Q1. That means foreign country has comparative advantage in Q2. At the same time, home country has comparative disadvantage in Q2. Or home country has comparative advantage in Q1 and disadvantage in Q2. Foreign country has comparative advantage in Q2 and disadvantage in Q1. Right? That can be calculated. So now think about that is home country's comparative opportunity cost of Q1 in terms of Q2 half, foreign opportunity cost of Q1 in terms of Q2 2. So home country's opportunity cost cheaper than foreign. So foreign country is less, so comparative disadvantage in Q2. Home country has comparative advantage in Q1 production. Right? With trade, the equilibrium relative price of cheese to wine settles between two opportunity costs of cheese. So before trade, opportunity cost of Q1 in terms of Q2 in home, half, foreign, 2. Right? After trade, equilibrium price in between this one and this one. Why? I'd like to explain when I'm explaining relative demand and relative supply. Right? Anyway, we assume that P1 over P2 is equal to 1. Or, for example, P1T, right, is $12. After trade price of Q1 is $12, for example. And we assume that P2T is also $12. Right? Then P1 over P2 after trade should be equal to 1. Okay? We assume this. Anyway, this one is in between opportunity cost of Q1 in terms of Q2 in home, half, and opportunity cost of Q1 in foreign 2 in between. Right? So that kind of thing. Right? So the pound of cheese, so blah, blah, blah. Right? With trade, foreign country can purchase 1 pound of cheese instead of so blah, blah, blah. So simply talking, after trade, home country has comparative advantage in Q1. So after trade, price of P1 increase. In other words, P1T greater than P1 Otake. So price of udon increase, right? Similarly, P2T smaller than P2A. Comparative disadvantage goods price decrease after trade compared to Otake level. And the opposite thing happening in foreign. P1 star T should be smaller than P1 star A, Otake price in foreign. Comparative advantage goods price after trade increase. So P2 star T. That kind of thing happen. Because of this, the P1 over P2 after trade is in between these two. Right? And we know that after trade, price P1T is equal to P1 star T. After trade, price of good one in home and foreign equalized. Price of good two in home and foreign equalized. So this one is equal to this one. This one is equal to this one. Right? After trade. But in Otake, P1A, so P1 star A very high than equilibrium price, and P1A is lower than this, P1T. P1A is lower than P1T. P1A. Right? So, and this is P2A, like this. Because of this, that happened. P1 over P2 is in between half and MRT star. Right? With trade, the home country can purchase 1 gallon of wine, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, from in this setup, now we can calculate wages, Otake wages, and after trade wages. Right? That is, we can calculate that. Wage rate in sector, anyway, wage rate in sector 1 in home, wage rate in sector, how can I say, wage rate in sector 1 in Otake situation. Think about optimal labor demand condition. Wage rate is equal to MPL1 multiplied by P1, Otake price, right? Then that is the wage rate in Otake in sector 1. And the MPL1 is, we know, 1 over AL1. And wage rate is P1A. So we can calculate the wage rate like this. For example, we assume that P1A, our additional assumption, we said P1T, P2T is $12, right? Similarly, P1A is $8, P2A is $16, or P1A star A, foreign Otake price of udon is $18. P2 star A is $9. We assume this one, right? Then we know P1A is $8. P1A is $8. AL1 is, what is AL1? AL1 is 1. So wage rate is $8 in Otake situation. Similarly, Otake wage rate in sector 2 is MPL2 multiplied by P2A. This one is P2A over AL2. P2A, $16, AL2 is 2, right? So this one is, and MPL2, what I'm talking, right? So $8. So wage rate in sector 1 is equal to wage rate in sector 2. That is $8. Similarly, we can calculate wage rate in home and foreign. Wage rate in foreign, wage rate in foreign in sector 1 is MPL1 star multiplied by P1 star A. MPL1 is equal to MPL1 star. What is MPL1 star? I forgot. MPL1 star or 6, right? P1A is $18. So $3, isn't it? Wage rate in sector 1 before trade, $3. Wage rate in foreign in sector 2 is MPL2 star multiplied by P2 star A. MPL2 we already calculated a third, and price is $9, so $3. Same to wage rate in sector 2 in home foreign, right? So here wage rate in sector 1 is MPL1, is in home MPL1 is 1. MPL1 is 1. P1 is $8, so $8. So MPL2 in home, as we already calculated, half multiplied by P2. P2 is 16, right? So $8 like this. So we calculated like this. Then I'll ask you calculate wage rate after trade in home and foreign, right? Actually, all of this calculation is midterm exam, one candidate of midterm exam question. I'll give you AL1, AL2 is something, some numbers, AL2 some numbers, and then I ask you first, construct production function, calculate the marginal product of labor, and ask you which country has absolute advantage in Q1 and Q2. Then I ask you calculate opportunity cost of Q1 in terms of Q2, opportunity cost of Q2 in terms of Q1. And I'll ask you which country has comparative advantage in Q1 and Q2. Right? Also, I ask you calculated wage rate before trade. Then W1, W2, same. W1 star, W star, same. Then I'll ask you calculate wage rate after trade. Right? Calculate wage rate after trade. Then lots of students calculate wage rate in after trade, wage rate in sector 2 in after trade is something. But then no points. Why? What happened after trade in home? Home country has comparative advantage in Q1, and after trade, just perfect specialization occurs toward Q1 production. Right? After trade, home country only produce comparative advantage good Q1 only, whereas foreign countries produce only Q2 production. I already explained using graph. Perfect specialization occurs, right? So, wage rate in home is wage rate in sector 1 after trade. That is equal to MPL1 multiplied by P1T. MPL1, same to autarky situation because production function do not change. MPL1 was 1, right? And price of good 1 after trade is $12. So, $12. Right? So, home country's wage rate increased after trade to $12. In autarky situation, $8. Now, $12. So, wage rate increase, income increase, households income increase, national welfare increase. Right? So, also, wage rate after trade in foreign is equal to wage rate in sector 2 after trade in foreign. Why? After trade, foreign countries only produce Q2. No production occurs in Q1. Right? Then that is MPL2 star multiplied by P2T or P2T star, same, right? What is this? MPL2, we already calculate. What is that? A third. And P2 star, we assume that $12, right? Then $4. Wage rate in foreign increased after trade. Autarky wage rate was $3, right? But after trade, increased to $4. Wage rate increase. Then, next question is this. Relative wages. Then I ask you, calculate relative wages in home and relative wage in foreign. Definition of relative wage in home is equal to wage rate in home divided over wage rate in foreign. Right? What is this? $12 over $4. So 3. What's the meaning of this? Home country's wage rate is 3 times foreign wage rate after trade. Right? Also, I ask you calculate the relative wage rate in foreign. This one is by definition reciprocal value of relative wages in home. So WT star over wage rate T. That is a third reciprocal value of relative wage in home, right? Foreign countries' wage rate is just a third of home's wage rate, a third. Okay? So let's check our slide. So relative wage rate calculated, right? A productivity difference determines relative wage differences across countries. The home's wage relative to foreign wage will settle in between the ratio of blah, blah, blah. Relative wages cause home to have a cost advantage only in cheese and foreign to have cost advantage only in wine. Right? So what is this? That is wage rate after trade in home. That is wage rate after trade in foreign. We already calculate. So relative wage of domestic workers is 3 and foreign a third. Then I'll ask you relative productivity, right? Relative productivity in Q1, for example. Relative productivity in home, right? Home's production, home produce Q1. So MPL1, that is MPL1 over MPL1 star. MPL1 was 1, MPL1 star was, what was MPL1 star? Was 6, right? So relative productivity in Q1 production in home is 6. What's the meaning of this? Home's productivity in Q1 production is 6 times of foreign. 6 times of foreign. Very productive. Much greatly productive than foreign. Okay? Also, I ask you relative productivity in foreign in Q2 production. Because foreign countries comparative advantage in Q2 production. That is, by definition, MPL2 star over MPL2. Right? What is this? MPL2 star was a third, and MPL2 is a half. That means what happened? 2/3. Relative productivity in Q2 production in foreign is 2/3. Right? So now we calculate the relative wage rate and relative productivity in comparative advantage good in both countries. Why I'm talking this? So I said home country's wage rate is 3 times of foreign. Wage rate expensive. That means competitiveness decrease, right? Other things being equal. Wage rate increase, labor cost higher than 3 times. Labor cost is 3 times of foreign in Q1 production, right? 3 times high. But we know, in spite of a higher wage rate, home countries has a comparative advantage in Q1. Why? Relative productivity is 6 times, right? 6 times higher than foreign. This much greater relative productivity in Q1 production, 6 times higher productivity, fully compensates higher wage rate and still enjoys combining this cost advantage in Q1 production. Okay? Higher wage rate means this is a negative factor for comparative advantage, isn't it? But home countries can enjoy cost advantage in Q1, comparative advantage in Q1. Why? Much higher labor productivity in Q1 production. 6 times higher productivity fully compensate, 3 times higher wage rate. So still enjoy cost advantage in Q1 production. Right? What happened in foreign? Foreign country has comparative advantage in Q2 production. But if we calculate productivity, just 2/3 of home level, productivity is 2/3 of partner country. But this country has cost advantage in Q2. Foreign country has cost advantage in Q2. How this happen despite of relatively poor productivity? Because much lower wage rate, fully compensate, right? Lower productivity in Q2 production in foreign. So foreign countries can enjoy cost advantage in Q2 production. Can you understand my explanation? So you have to combine relative wages and relative productivity in comparative advantage. Then you can conclude that home country has comparative advantage in Q1 in spite of higher wage rate. Why? Much higher productivity. Foreign countries, right? Relative productivity in Q2 production is lower than home partner country. But foreign country has comparative advantage, cost advantage in Q2 production. Why that happen? How that happen? Because much lower wage rate. Because of fully compensate lower productivity. Because of this, foreign country has cost advantage in Q2 production, right? So that is explained here, right? That explained here. So I provide the information in midterm exam. AL1 is something, AL2 is something like this. Some numbers, maybe different from this. And I'll give you information that P1A is, P2A is something, after trade price of P1 and P2 like this. I give you this information and this information. And you have to solve everything from marginal product of labor to why home country has cost advantage in Q1. After calculating everything here. That is one important candidate of midterm exams subjective question. Okay? So then we go next section. Do wages reflect productivity? Do relative wages reflect relative productivity of the two countries? Empirical evidence show that low wages are related with low productivity. Why? Wage rate of least developing countries are so low, right? Less than $30 per month, for example. Because low productivity. So wage rate is very low. Think about optimal labor demand condition, right? And why rich countries' labor receive higher wages? Because productivity is very high, right? So in sum, wage rate and productivity, labor productivity, going together. Wage rate increase because labor productivity increase, right? Wage rate is very low because productivity is very low. Okay? Lots of politicians and usual people ignore this point, right? Why we have to consume too little compared to rich countries, some people? Because difference is in productivity, right? In case of Korea, same. Lots of Korean citizens believe that because of democratization movement in 1986, so because of democratization, wage rate of Korea increased greatly. That is political point perspective. economic perspective is quite different. From 1980s, our labor productivity increased greatly. So we can allow increase in wage rate. Okay? In the long term, wage rate and productivity is moving together. So look at cross countries, some example. X variable is productivity as a percentage of US, China, low per capita productivity. And wage rate also very low. Right? Korea, so it's old data, but anyway, here, about Korea's wage rate, productivity is about 42% of United States level. And wage rate is 60% of United States level. Right? Japan is here, Mexico is here. So this figure shows that one-to-one relationship, tendency of productivity and wage rate, showing same trend. So this figure shows that cross-country data verifies empirically positive relationship between productivity and wages. Also, time series data also shows that productivity and wages increase together. For example, so as recently as 1975, wages in Korea were only 5% of the United States level, just 5% of United States level. As South Korea's labor productivity rose to about half of the US level by year 2007. So did wage also increase. Okay? So using this time series data, wage rate and labor productivity, so increase at the same trend. Okay? I'd like to stop here.